Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Thursday, October 23rd. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Penn State game in 9 days, the game against Michigan in 37 days. If you're planning your next event, make it unforgettable with Grateful Griddle, Columbus's favorite food truck, serving up smash burgers, gourmet sandwiches, and good vibes. Book your catering today at gratefulgriddleoh.com. On today's show, you're going to get to hear a bunch from Ryan Day. Get a chance to talk to him for a little bit earlier on in the week. Buckeyes are enjoying their week off, their second week off for the regular season. Their final week off until either the week after the Michigan game or the week after the Big Ten championship game. So we'll know a lot more the next time the Buckeyes have a week off. But one of the things that will determine what we find out and when that week off will happen is their ability to run the ball. That has certainly been a little bit of a question mark for the team so far this season. There have really not been many question marks for this team. And against Wisconsin, they were able to throw the ball quite well, nearly 400 yards through the air, but they continue to struggle it on the ground. So when you're calling plays, how do you balance the fact that they were able to throw the ball all over a team like Wisconsin with knowing the fact that they will probably need to run the ball at some point when they have a bad weather game later on in the season?
Well, I think we look at what the opponent is, what the matchup is, what we see for tendencies, and then take what they're giving you. And based on the play call, there's design runs, there's design passes, and there's decisions that are made post-snap based on what the defense has given us. So those are all things that put stress on defenses, and we'll put the game plan together each week based on what the opponent does well, what we do well, and then kind of go from there. But the big question is, do you have the ability to do all of the things you want to do? And obviously running and passing are the top two, so we've got to be able to do both of them.
The run game might not be exactly where the Buckeyes want it to be, but the passing game, that has got to be real up there with what we're hoping for at the beginning of the season. Julian Sayin, now considered one of the favorites for the Heisman Trophy. You got to remember, he was a complete unknown coming into this season. He had just gotten a few reps as the number 3 guy last year, so this has all come quite an impression so far early on in the season. So when Ryan Day looks at Julian Sayin, has he exceeded all of Day's expectations up to this point? And then are you at the point now where you're maybe changing the game plan to take advantage of what Julian Sayin's been able to do?
I try not to have too many expectations. You're just not too sure how things are going to shake. I've learned that you try to plan the best you can, but you really just want to focus on one game at a time because you just don't know what is really going to happen. And weeks down the road, you try to predict some things. But I think each week he's grown more and more. He's built confidence, and I think his teammates believe in him now. And you could see he probably had his best game to date, at Wisconsin. So now he's got to grow from that and continue to build. So we're just halfway through the season, so we got a lot of football left. But the number one thing we got to do is continue to take care of the football, lead the team, command the game. We're now getting it into the stretch run of the season, and then obviously in the playoff football. So, all of these games, all these decisions, everything we're doing is going to be at just ramped up and amped up at a higher level. So, it's good to see him get, some of these games under his belt as we make this run.
The week off is often a time for teams to sort of take stock of where they are with certain positional battles and if things need to be changed, either philosophically or personnel-wise or something else. Are there questions this week about the right guard position? Because Tshabola has certainly not had a couple great games recently, and we have seen Ohio State rotating Josh Padilla in at right guard for a few drives every game as well. So are there conversations about maybe making that a permanent change, putting Josh Padilla in over Tshabola for the next game?
Yeah, well, we're looking at everything. We're looking at the stats, not only just coming off the last game, but of the first half of the season, and figure out, who and what gives us the best chance to win. So all things that we're evaluating. Most of the coaches were on the road yesterday, went through the film this morning and graded everything. We'll have our champions meeting today at 2:30 to go through the champions, give the guys the feedback on this game, but also on the first half of the season, the things they've done well, but the things they need to improve on. And everybody's going to get that type of feedback, including Tegra. And, we need to improve in those areas, that everybody has to work on. But we're going to, evaluate everything and make sure we're doing what's right by the team.
Another position where there's been some change over the course of the season is at running back. Game 1, it was James Peoples and C.J. Donaldson against Texas. The last game against Wisconsin, 2 leading rushers in terms of carries, Bo Jackson and Isaiah West. So quite a bit has changed over the course of the season. Has enough changed, and are they at the point now where they're ready to sort of set a firm hierarchy at running back, or is it kind of going to just continue to be a little bit of a by committee thing?
I think most of the guys are so young that I still don't think we're there yet. I still think that each game they play, they're learning more and more. They're watching themselves on film. They're growing, and so they still got to continue to get better. There's a lot to be learned about all of them, and when you watch them play in the games, you get more and more feedback, and that's it. So it's their job to take the feedback from the coaches and try to get better. But I've said before, we're going to need them all. I think they all bring different things to the table, but I don't think we're in a position where right now we're going to make, like you said, a hierarchy. I think they all need to learn how to play in different areas and get better and keep growing from there. I don't think we're there right now, as much as I'd like to say we are, but we'll take this bye week to continue to allow them to get better and keep evaluating it on a week-to-week basis, and then you don't know. I mean, maybe some guys start getting hot. That happens sometimes. They get into a rhythm of the game. There really weren't as many carries this past week because we're a little bit more in the RPO world. So some of the runs that were called ended up being throws. So that plays into it. But you also saw early in the season, I think both James and CJ had over 10 carries, in the first game. So each game is a little bit different, and we'll keep evaluating it. But it was certainly a bright spot to see Isaiah with some of the runs that he made. I thought he made guys miss and ran hard.
Next question went back to the running game, and that is obviously, as I said earlier, kind of one of the big concerns for Ohio State, so it makes sense. So where does Ryan Day really honestly feel the Buckeyes are right now with the run game, and what do they need to do to fix it?
Yeah, I don't think it's about fixing it as much as there was some breakdowns in terms of technique in the game. I won't really get into pointing fingers, but we got to be more consistent in terms of identifying who we're going to and then using the technique to block them. There were some really good runs in the game, but then there was a stretch there in the third quarter where it was like 4 runs that went for nothing. And on a couple of them, we didn't identify right, but for the most part, it was technique. And, we abandoned our technique. That's really what it came down to. I don't think that there was an issue in terms of the running backs not reading the right hole. I think we always want to see the running backs make 4 yards for the team and then make some guys miss down the road and run physical and through contact. Some of that did happen in the game when you watch the film, to be fair. We want to see it every play. But, what we can have guys running free in the backfield. And then we had that a couple times in the game. And that wasn't just one guy, but, the guys will get the feedback on their grades and figure out where they need to get better and get the feedback today. But to me, it was more of a technique issue, and maybe it was a lack of focus in that moment. But either way, it's unacceptable.
On the other side of the ball, there has not been a whole lot that has needed to be fixed under new defensive coordinator Matt Patricia. The Buckeyes are setting all sorts of historical marks. They have the best Ohio State defense on a points allowed through 6-7 games since 1975. They've allowed the fewest points of any defense in the country through 7 games since the 1993 Florida State Seminoles. That's all pretty good company to be in. So what is the biggest positive impact Matt Patricia has had this year on the Ohio State program, either on or off the field?
It's well documented when we went about trying to find a new defensive coordinator and work with Tim Walton and the staff. We wanted to make sure we had the right guy that fit the room, because when you talk about, Tim and McArary and James and Larry, you're talking about one of the best, in my opinion, the best defensive staff in the country. And we didn't want to just bring in somebody that was going to bring in their own guys. So that was the first thing. So I think chemistry is the first answer to your question. I think the chemistry with the coaches and the chemistry with the players has been excellent. I think the next thing is we wanted to find somebody who could use multiple fronts and multiple defenses to put our guys in a situation to be successful. We're not the same group of guys we were last year. As you know, we lost a lot of guys. We had to replace them. And I think Matt's background of using multiple fronts and multiple defenses to put guys in situations to be successful is probably the next thing that he's done well. And then I think the ability of our players to buy into the system and also build the guys around them. So what I mean by that is, although we lost a lot of guys like Caleb Davison, Sonny, Arvell, Caden Curry, these guys who have played a lot of football, KJ, they were able to take some of the new stuff and communicate it to the guys around them to build confidence so that they can go put it on the field for some guys that hadn't played a lot of football. So I think all of those combined is why you're seeing the success we've had in the first half of the season. But the first half of the season is just prep for the rest of the run. And so we all got to look back on the first half of the season here, figure out the things that we've done well, and then figure out, where we may have tendencies. We always said that, good offense and defenses have tendencies, but we got to make sure we're ahead of it and that we're not getting nailed down. So all things we're working on this week.
One more spot where you're seeing younger guys maybe potentially getting ready to take on a bigger role is at wide receiver. Quincy Porter, you saw him step up and make some big plays on the outside against Wisconsin. And when you combine that with what you saw Carnell Tate do when they slid him inside to the slot at one point when Brandon Innes was hurt, and he caught that long touchdown pass down the middle for the first score of the game. Well, kind of an interesting question. Is Quincy Porter ready to take on a bigger role, especially given what that could open up for Carnell Tate?
Yeah, I thought he handled that well. And, the pivot he caught was a really nice route. Then he caught and ran it and made it I think it turned into an explosive play. We were much more explosive on offense. I think we had double digits explosive plays, and I think that was one of them. But, it was good to see him. That was really his first big action in a conference game. And I don't think he flinched. I thought he handled it well and did a good job and graded out pretty well. So that's exciting. And I think Carnell and Jeremiah need some of that as the season goes on. It's a long season, and they need that depth. That's important. The team needs it. So he and Milan, and hopefully we're going to get Bryson Rogers back this week. These guys can help because we need them.
And finally, in previous years, sometimes you talk to players and you'd hear that the week off practices were way harder than a lot of the game week practices because you have time where you're not playing on Saturday, so you have time to be a little more physical during practice during the week. Now, is that still true at this point, now that the college football playoffs have been expanded and we know they're trying to manage the number of hits guys take and the number of snaps they have and all that kind of stuff based on the fact that it's potentially a much longer season? So are these off-week practices still going to be very physical, or is that something that maybe is going away now because of the expanded college football playoff?
Everyone's a little bit different. There's guys who have played a whole bunch of football who need maintenance, and there's some young guys that need a whole bunch of football and a whole bunch of reps. So, we'll use the formula that we've used in the past for the bye week, but try to, give everybody what they need. Some guys need to heal. Some guys need reps. Some guys need more fundamental work. Everybody's a little bit different. But I think it is good, for us on, Sunday and on Monday to get away. Don't think about football for a little while, come back, regroup, put Saturday's game to bed. And then we have, some really good practices this week on what we need to get done. So we know during the bye week is a good opportunity to take a step back. We always try to stay focused on the week at hand. This is a good time to take a step back and realize that we need to get certain things fixed, address some things, and then, take a picture at the run that we're about to make and what we need to get done during the run, because once Sunday hits, it's right on to Penn State.
Well, that'll do it for today. We will have much more coverage, of course, this week at BuckeyeHuddle.com, covering Buckeyes, covering recruiting, covering X's and O's. We'll have Ross Fulton on tomorrow's show, talk about the Ohio State defense. I think you guys will enjoy that one. Haven't even talked to Ross yet. I'm pretty sure, though, it will be a pretty positive show about the Ohio State defense. And then we'll be back with a full boat of coverage next week as the Buckeyes get ready to take on new Penn State defensive coordinator Jim Knowles, old friend in Columbus, and the Penn State Nittany Lions, who are not exactly having the season that they were expecting to have, but certainly going to be a marquee national game anyway. It is big noon kickoff next Saturday. So we will be there for that one. We'll be there for all the coverage leading up to that. So make sure you join us at BuckeyeHuddle.com and at YouTube.com/BuckeyeHuddle. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.